When King Charles stepped away from public duties for what was described as routine, few realized the layers of dread buried beneath those words. But palace insiders knew better. His sudden retreat came after an emergency briefing marked "for sovereign eyes only." Now, for the first time, the king has broken his silence, and the truth is far darker than the crown ever let slip. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. The first sign came in whispers, subtle shifts in the king's diary, meetings abruptly cancelled, appearances postponed without reason. Palace staff were instructed to remain on flexible alert, a phrase that sent cold shivers through those who remembered the protocols used during the Queen's final months. Official statements offered vague reassurances about routine health monitoring, but insiders quickly noted an unsettling pattern. Foot traffic to the King's private physician at Sandringham quadrupled within 48 hours. Royal security protocols were altered overnight, and several senior aides were placed on immediate standby. The public may have believed it was a pause, a retreat, but within palace walls, the word being murmured was containment. Shortly after, a confidential medical report arrived from Sandringham, hand-delivered and not transmitted electronically, a method reserved only for the most sensitive matters of state. It was this report that triggered an unannounced emergency briefing inside Buckingham Palace. Only a handful were permitted into the inner room. Queen Camilla was one of them, and sources claim that she emerged with tears in her eyes and a ghostly pallor that couldn't be hidden even behind the fortress of palace discretion. One aide described her expression as utter devastation laced with immediate resolve. Whatever the document contained, it shattered the usual royal calm. Within hours, Prince William and Princess Catherine were summoned to the palace under the veil of secrecy. Not even their closest aides knew why the couple left their Norfolk residence so suddenly. The meeting lasted over 2 hours, and when they exited, William's face was drained of colour. Catherine held his hand tightly, as if anchoring him. No words were spoken to those outside the chamber, but the air around them was heavy, like a family reckoning with something irreversible. Among those closest to the inner circle, speculation erupted about what the king had been told. Was it terminal? Was it degenerative? Or had something already occurred that the monarchy hadn't yet disclosed to the public? One chilling theory gained traction rapidly. Known to few, this clause outlines a scenario in which the reigning monarch is allowed to begin delegating authority in the case of sustained compromised capacity, a clause never before used in modern royal history. As the crown's machinery continues to hum with outward grace and ceremony, an undercurrent of dread now coils through the very core of royal power. Something has shifted. The king knows it, the family feels it, and the institution so trained to endure is bracing for what may come. But this isn't the first time Charles has been forced to face the fragility of his throne, and what comes next may explain why this time he couldn't stay silent. Behind palace gates, where secrets are often buried deeper than vaults, a single word had been whispered among advisors: progressive. The king's latest test results weren't just concerning, they carried the weight of legacy, inheritance, and looming crisis. And the diagnosis was one he had feared for decades. It began with a silent arrival, 3 black cars entering the grounds of Balmoral under the cover of darkness. Their passengers, private specialists, flown in from multiple corners of Europe under the covert operation code named Windsor Fog. Their presence wasn't scheduled, not listed, and not officially sanctioned by the NHS. This was a private evaluation ordered not by Charles himself, but by a select group of senior aides who had noticed too many inconsistencies. Missed appointments, repeated phrases in private meetings, hesitations during state briefings. And then there was the incident at the Highgrove reception, the moment Charles froze mid-sentence, staring at nothing, for nearly 30 seconds. The footage was swiftly edited before it reached the press. But some noticed. Some always do. Then came the scan. A single image, high resolution, labelled with only the initials CR3, landed anonymously in the inbox of a seasoned royal correspondent. The watermark suggested it came from within the palace's internal network. Within hours, whispers began to surface, whispers too specific to be coincidence. Medical terms like neurological deterioration, risk, genetic predisposition, and early-stage cortical decline began circulating in encrypted journalist circles. But the real fear wasn't in the jargon, it was in what it might confirm, a hereditary shadow long believed buried. Charles's grandfather, King George VI, was said to have suffered quietly from a series of unexplained cognitive episodes in his final years. Officially, they were attributed to stress, war, and chain smoking. But internal memos unearthed during a restricted Royal Archive review suggested otherwise mentions of disorientation, memory lapses, and misidentification of close aides. The documents were sealed. Until now, a deeper dive by royal historians uncovered two eerily similar cases in the 1800s, both monarchs who were quietly relieved of duties under vague language. Their medical files were redacted, but the patterns were unmistakable. The breaking point came when a confidential neurology team, flown in from Switzerland, delivered their preliminary assessment after reviewing Charles's recent scans and behavior logs. Their conclusion wasn't final, but it was devastating. A possible timeline, a predicted trajectory, a likelihood that the symptoms would escalate within the next 18 to 24 months. There was no certainty, no confirmed diagnosis, but the probability was enough to ignite an institutional panic. The crown could not afford a monarch at half capacity. Not after what happened to his mother. Not after the chaos of succession delays and internal power jostling. And yet, through it all, Charles remained eerily composed. No outbursts, no denial. Just a single comment to his inner circle. Let them prepare for the worst. But I haven't said my last word yet. As the king grapples with the meaning of this revelation, what he does next sends shockwaves not just through his family, but across the institution he swore to protect. In a locked study at Highgrove, King Charles has reportedly begun recording a series of private video diaries to be released only upon his incapacitation or death. The footage, insiders say, reveals not just medical truth, but emotional breakdowns, regrets, and confessions that could devastate the monarchy's image. Behind the heavy oak door, where only a select few have stepped foot in recent months, something has changed. Each night, Charles retreats alone with a single camera and a stack of handwritten notes. The files are marked by hand, each one dated and sealed with the royal cipher, with the chilling phrase stamped across the casing, "For William and Harry." These are not rehearsed addresses or polished statements. What Charles is capturing is raw, unsanctioned, unfiltered. A monarch shedding the armor of sovereignty and stepping into the realm of vulnerability most feared by King's legacy without control. One of the earliest recordings, reportedly reviewed by a member of his private office, contains a moment that stunned even the most hardened aide. The king breaks down mid-sentence while speaking about the final days of Queen Elizabeth. He confesses to holding her hand as her memory faltered, the exact moment he realized what might await him. His voice cracks when he speaks of her final smile, and the guilt he feels for not saying more when she still could understand. "I should have asked her how she endured it," he whispers, "because now I must." In another entry, Charles drops a bombshell few within his circle were prepared for. He admits calmly, yet heartbreakingly, that he had hidden symptoms from Camilla for nearly 6 months. Subtle tremors, momentary lapses in memory, confusion between names and faces. At first, he dismissed them. Then, he feared them. And finally, he chose silence. "If I told her," he explains, "it would become real. And I wasn't ready to be a broken king in her eyes." But the most emotional admission comes when he addresses Harry directly. With tired eyes and an unsteady voice, Charles acknowledges the years of damage between father and son. "I have so many words I never gave you," he says quietly. "So much time I allowed pride to steal. That was my failure, not yours." He alludes to something deeper, an unfinished business between them that, until now, had only been speculated about in vague press reports. There's a truth I wanted you to hear from me, but I waited too long. And then the screen cuts. The most shocking moment yet, according to insiders who've seen the logs, comes when Charles references a second will, one written months prior to his public declaration. This hidden will, he claims, outlines a different vision for the crown's inheritance. One that may shift the line of influence and favour dramatically. The video ends without clarification, only a cryptic warning. Let them read it when I no longer can defend it. And then, in the most recent footage, comes the line that has triggered emergency meetings and frantic document, sweeps across the palace. If you're seeing this, then it's already begun. But it's not just the king recording his fears, others are watching, documenting, and leaking, and what they've uncovered will rip open royal history. A confidential file mysteriously leaked from Clarence House has landed in the hands of a former royal advisor. Its contents? A crisis contingency plan labelled Swan Song Protocol, detailing preparations for a monarch unable to rule. The revelation has triggered a war room scramble and a terrifying glimpse into the monarchy's deepest emergency measures. The leak wasn't accidental. Sources suggest the file was deliberately extracted by someone with high-level access, someone who wanted the truth to surface before decisions were made behind closed doors. And what this file reveals is more than a plan, it's a blueprint for survival, a pre-written script for institutional control in the face of sovereign collapse. The Swan Song Protocol reads like a post-crisis playbook, and its pages detail a scenario so specific, so chillingly rehearsed, that it suggests the palace has been preparing for this moment far longer than anyone imagined. The plan's first chapter outlines an aggressive media containment strategy, including pre-approved statements, fake scheduling blocks, and controlled leaks to sympathetic outlets. Royal aides are instructed to maintain the illusion of continuity, even if the king is incapacitated. One section coldly refers to maintaining ceremonial presence via archive footage and digital insertion, a manipulation that speaks to desperation behind the crown's polished facade. But that's just the beginning. Buried deeper within the document is a clause that bypasses Parliament entirely, allowing for a quiet handover of key sovereign responsibilities without triggering constitutional review. In simple terms, if Charles is deemed unfit to rule, the transition could happen behind the scenes without the public or Parliament ever knowing until it's too late. The clause is marked Activation Threshold, Cognitive Decline, confirmed by Dual Advisor certification. It's a move that not only strips Charles of control, but keeps the legal foundation of monarchy intact through silence. This isn't just crisis planning, it's institutional self-preservation. Then comes the most shocking revelation of all. Queen Camilla, under the Swan Song Protocol, would assume regency by proxy. This unprecedented role would grant her full authority to act on behalf of the monarch in all ceremonial and strategic functions, without the formal title of regent. It's a legal sleight of hand that places enormous power in her hands, shielding her from parliamentary scrutiny. Insiders say this section was added only recently, and may not have Charles's full awareness, let alone consent. Prepared letters to Commonwealth leaders lie tucked within the annex, each one pre-addressed and dated with blank timestamps, awaiting activation in the event of a destabilizing revelation. They contain reassurances, a firm tone, and a disturbing lack of emotional warmth, clearly not written by the king himself. The drafts come from the Foreign Office in coordination with senior palace strategists, confirming the monarchy has been bracing for this storm across multiple fronts. Perhaps the most quietly explosive section involves the creation of a Royal Council of Five, a covert group tasked with evaluating the king's mental clarity on a recurring basis. Members include a rotating medical officer, a senior aide, a legal observer, and 2 royals. Their names remain redacted, except for one chilling annotation. 2 other royals identified as succession disruptors. Neutralization to be discussed if visibility increases. Who those 2 are remains a mystery, but the tone is unmistakable. Someone behind the walls of power is playing for keeps. As protocols activate behind palace walls, One figure is already positioning himself in the vacuum of power, a figure Charles trusts least. When Prince Harry arrived unannounced at Heathrow, the palace scrambled. This wasn't a courtesy visit. This was a confrontation and a demand. Harry wanted answers, full medical transparency, and access to documents that he claimed could prove the monarchy has lied not just to the public but to him. His flight was tracked by a handful of alert royal watchers, but even they were caught off guard when his convoy slipped past press without comment and headed straight for Clarence House. According to insiders, he bypassed protocols, ignored requests for mediation, and walked directly into the lion's den demanding to speak with his father alone. His request? Simple but seismic, to view the Swan Song Protocol in its entirety. The response? A firm denial. Royal aides told him it was classified, internal, and irrelevant to his standing. But Harry didn't leave quietly. What followed was a confrontation so heated, so raw, that a hidden audio recorder left running by an aide allegedly captured every word. The leaked recording, never officially verified but circulated in the upper echelons of royal staff, includes raised voices, long silences, and one unforgettable moment. Harry can be heard asking, "Why does everyone else get to decide when my father steps down but his own son is left in the dark?" Charles, noticeably distressed, replies, "Because you walked away from it, Harry. And now you want back in only when it suits your grievance." The room reportedly fell into silence after that, but the damage was done. In the days that followed, Meghan Markle was said to have ramped up private communications with her media contacts in the United States. Several key journalists were tipped off about serious questions being raised over the king's mental capacity and the royal family's internal secrecy. The speculation that followed sent tabloids into overdrive, especially after it was revealed that Harry had retained a team of private medical experts, neurologists, and forensic consultants to review the same leaked scan that had ignited the Swan Song fears. Their findings weren't definitive, but the implication was clear. The royal family might be suppressing a diagnosis to protect the throne. With every passing hour, Harry grew bolder. He contacted legal counsel, threatened formal action to access what he referred to as documents of direct familial consequence. His legal strategy was rooted in the notion that if succession plans had been altered due to health, then, as a son and still technically a prince of the realm, he had the right to review them. But what alarmed the palace most wasn't the legal maneuvering, it was the intent behind it. Harry wasn't trying to preserve the monarchy, he was trying to expose it. He felt betrayed, marginalized, silenced. And now, with the weight of American media behind him, he was prepared to lift the veil piece by piece until the truth was undeniable. But as Harry's legal team began drafting their first official requests, and Meghan prepared for what some suspected might be another public interview, something stopped them cold. Because just as Harry prepared to go public with what he knew, another bombshell emerged, hidden not in a hospital file, but in a decades-old journal tucked inside Balmoral. Buried in the pages of the Queen Mother's private journal was a chilling entry, dated weeks before her death. "Charles will reign, but not endure. The heir must rise before the father falls." Was it intuition, or a known condition kept secret through generations? The eerie timing of the discovery has reignited conspiracy and dread. The journal in question had long been locked away as part of the Spencer Vault collection, a trove of personal documents, family letters, and unpublished writings held back from public view at the behest of senior royals. But it was during a private archival audit ordered by the king himself, meant to preserve legacy and consolidate control, that the entry resurfaced. A quiet archivist, entrusted with cataloguing the more sensitive material, allegedly made a copy before the original was resealed. That copy, passed through trusted hands, eventually landed in front of someone who knew exactly what it meant and exactly when to release it. The entry wasn't lengthy. It didn't need to be. In fewer than 100 words, the Queen Mother laid out a veiled prophecy laced with implication. She wrote of a nervous affliction passed through blood, of an heir who must be prepared to ascend in shadow, and, most cryptically, of a medicine hidden in legacy but ignored by pride. Those who've seen the page say it's not written in fear, but resolve, like someone who knew more than she ever admitted publicly. And the reference to legacy wasn't just about Charles. It echoed something deeper, something ancient. The Crown's unspoken history of concealing weakness to preserve image. Camilla, upon learning of the journal's resurfacing, reportedly demanded it not be discussed publicly. She dismissed the contents as dangerous myth-making and warned that invoking it would only embolden the more conspiratorial elements of the press. But those who've read the full entry see something else entirely, a coded warning, perhaps even a confession. The Queen Mother, after all, lived through 3 reigns, 2 wars, and 1 abdication. She understood power, she understood decline, and she knew how to leave a message without ever stating it plainly. What's even more disturbing is that Charles had this journal in his possession years ago. Sources say he had it sealed, possibly never even reading the full entry until recently. Why he chose to keep it hidden remains unclear, but palace whispers suggest it unsettled him deeply. There's even speculation that it was only after rereading it that he began. The private video diaries. Some believe the journal served as a mirror, forcing him to confront the truth he'd been resisting. But the most poignant moment tied to the journal came not from Charles, but from his son. William, quiet in the chaos of the swan song revelations and Harry's explosive return, is said to have requested the journal's full transcript. And then, under a shroud of silence, he travelled to Balmoral alone. No aides, no press, no statements. Just one night in the old estate, reading the words of a grandmother who seemed to know how this all might end. And as history repeats itself in whispers and warnings, the final question looms: what happens if the king chooses to defy the diagnosis and continue ruling? In a televised address that shook the world, King Charles finally faced the nation. Not to abdicate, not to apologize, but to fight. With steely resolve and a fire unseen since his coronation, he declared he would not step aside. Not now, not ever. Behind his words lies a plan more radical than anyone expected. For days, speculation had mounted, advisors had debated. The press had prepared for a resignation, but the king had been silent until that moment. With the eyes of the nation, and indeed the world, fixed on the screen, he began with words that echoed across generations. "My whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service." It was the same vow once made by his mother, Queen Elizabeth, and in invoking it, Charles reclaimed not just his role but his identity. He acknowledged the rumours, the swirling theories, the fears about his health, but dismissed them as distractions. What mattered now, he said, was continuity, duty, and resolve. Then came the unexpected. The announcement of a new royal initiative, the Monarch's Resilience Task Force. A term never before used in any official context, this task force would function as a constitutional bridge between tradition and reform. Made up of legal, scholars, royal physicians, former prime ministers, and hand-picked confidants, it would ensure that the monarchy could adapt to modern demands without sacrificing sovereignty. It was, in essence, Charles rewriting the rules of kingship in real time, and at its heart was one unshakable principle: that medical privacy is not a privilege but a sovereign right. No parliament, no press, no court, no family member would compel him to release personal health records. That line would not be crossed. He went further. In a gesture both bold and unorthodox, Charles proposed a hybrid constitutional arrangement in which he would retain ceremonial and strategic control, while formally elevating William to execute day-to-day functions of the crown. Not a regency, he clarified. A partnership. The monarchy is not a single figure. It is a living institution, he said, and that institution can and must evolve. The palace, according to insiders, had been split on this direction. But Charles made it clear, the time for consensus had passed. He was drawing his own line in the sand. Throughout the address, he invoked language charged with emotion and memory. He spoke of battles won before, and to be won again. He referenced the weight of the crown, the ghosts of former sovereigns, and the pressure to embody stability in times of chaos. But the moment that left even his staunchest critics silent came at the end. His final words, delivered slowly, deliberately, with unmistakable gravity. "I will not be buried before my time by fate or by family." It was a thunderclap, a warning, and perhaps a reckoning. Those in the palace understood what it meant. The king had drawn a sword, and he would not sheath it unless forced. But the crown's greatest threat may not be illness or defiance. It may be the secret already set in motion behind Charles's back. Unknown to King Charles, a royal document was signed in his name during his incapacitation window earlier this year. The implications? Staggering. If true, it means power has already shifted quietly, legally, irrevocably. And the king's fight for survival may already be too late. It began with a single piece of paper unearthed not by a journalist or rival, but by a royal legal aid tasked with routine filing. What they found instead was a directive carrying Charles's personal seal, dated during the exact window when the king was reportedly under private medical observation and away from public duties. The problem? The king swears he never signed it. The document itself bore all the hallmarks of official royal authority. Embossed, archived, registered, but with no memory, no meeting, no witness account aligning with its origin, alarm bells rang immediately. If Charles didn't authorize this, who did? And more importantly, why? The answer, as always, lay in the fine print. This particular directive discreetly expanded the powers of the Royal Council of Regency and granted Queen Camilla unprecedented temporary authority over sovereign matters. It gave her clearance to act in the monarch's stead without full regency powers being publicly declared. The provision was legally sound if signed by the king himself. But now, with questions surrounding its legitimacy, the line between order and constitutional breach has begun to blur dangerously. What's worse is that neither William nor Catherine were informed. Sources close to the couple claim they were blindsided. Aides at Kensington Palace reportedly scrambled for hours, seeking clarification, legal precedent, and a means to verify or block the execution of the document. Behind the scenes, the atmosphere turned electric with fear. If Charles's seal could be used without his conscious approval, what else might have already been enacted under the cloak of his silence? Parliament wasn't far behind. Several senior members, long wary of the monarchy's opacity in times of transition, began to voice concerns. A formal inquiry was proposed in hushed tones, while backdoor conversations between constitutional scholars and senior clerks multiplied. Questions flew like daggers. If a forged directive could activate real-world shifts in sovereign power, was the entire structure now vulnerable to manipulation from within? Then came the darkest revelation of all. A note buried deep in an internal memo suggested that Charles's silence during that critical period may not have been coincidental. The phrase used chilled even the most cynical observers. Silence procured by design. Had the king been deliberately kept out of key decisions while unwell? Was the Swan Song Protocol simply a smokescreen for a power play already in motion? The monarchy had withstood wars, scandals, abdications. But now, it faced a quiet coup disguised as care. And so, the monarchy stands at the edge of revelation and reckoning. The king has spoken, but the crown's future is now held in the trembling hands of secrets he may never reclaim. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.